Okay, good. Yeah, nice easy crowd. Yeah.
Because I want to picture both of
Come on,
us.
come on, come on, come on. Just do it! Do it! Woo! So now, so while we give it a couple minutes.
Who is that? Oh.
So, why not? Yeah, give me a Adagio. Adagio. Yeah, Adagio is here because my OC couldn't be.
Adonis Rex
I'll
has
give
a
her the microphone. Here you go, Adagio. And Discord too.
Plushie party at the panel.
Can't all have microphones. So okay, so
Huh? What am I doing?
Just gonna get street passes.
okay, so nice. So where's everybody here from? Nice.
Oh, nice.
Spaghetti City.
Wow.
Yeah, where is everybody?
They can trickle in.
I very kindly demanded people come to this panel.
Wait a minute.
Threatened them. You did come, thank you. Your family will be fine. Okay. Oh, I love you too. All right. Yeah, why not? So,
Hi.
so if you guys didn't know, we are the Connecticut Bronies. We hail from Connecticut. Yeah. So we're a group of, we have a slide for that. So these are I'm Sam. Thank you. And these are my two panelists.
Hi, I'm Adam. Adam Danger Clothes. Not that anyone really knows that. And I've been a member of this meetup for about 2.5 years.
Thank you.
I'm kind of like the analysis guy for this panel.
And I'm Gerard. I'm one of the admins of the group. I help organize meetups and band people.
So like I said, we're the Connecticut Bronies. We have about 200 members. Our attendance can get to about 10 to 30 members, depending on what we're doing at any given meetup. And we have all kinds of meetups, such as episode viewings. We go camping sometimes. We'll go hiking, biking. We'll do all kinds. We'll go to scenic places like the Orchard, the aquarium, and we go to air shows, and sometimes we even go to the gun range.
So a big component of what this panel is going to be about is, we are just the Connecticut Bronies, but Sam got in touch with a lot of other meetup groups across the continental US and talked to their admins and their members to really try to build a better picture of what makes a successful meetup or a healthy meetup. And it was funny because during the kind of review and research of this, I noticed it all formed up very comfortably into kind of 6 elements of a meetup. As we can see here, I have about 6. Transportation, activity, participation, communication, organization, and maintenance are almost in the same thing. In the very center, we have the last one, which is luck. And so we're going to be talking about all these things and how we think they all kind of come together to make what we think made a great meetup for ourselves and for all the other meetups we talk to. So before we really start with that is we have to find the meetups. If you aren't already part of one or you want to find more near you, a great source is the Equestria Daily meetup map. And this map is the most recent one right now. Most of these little tick marks actually represent Facebook groups. A lot of meetups organize and run through Facebook groups. The second half of them are about meetup groups, meetup.com specifically. That's where we mostly run through. And then other ones are dedicated websites and forums that are actually independently run. A handful of them are no longer active. They're kind of dead ends. Hopefully EQD will eventually go through and clean those up. That's kind of their job. But most of these are all active. As you can see, it kind of gets spread out the more west you go, as it makes sense. Population density spreads out. which comes to our first element, which is transportation. And this is a big issue specifically for large states. Now, we're from Connecticut, which works out specifically for us because it's a small state, and so everything's no more than about an hour to hour and a half away from any particular thing at worst. So this makes transportation usually pretty, adequate for ourselves. But a lot of other states obviously are really big. For example, I have experience with Colorado because my sister lives out there and we go out there a lot. And you could have up to 4 hours between two cities. That's a lot of distance to cover, and that's going to be, not very attractive to people who want to try and meet up, say between Denver and Boulder. So that can be an issue. But a great way to mitigate these issues of transportation, specifically over longer distances, is the use of a carpool.
Carpools are a great way to get more some of the younger members, maybe who don't have licenses, other members who might have difficult situations, might not have cars, to meetups and to expand your attendance. I, for one, can say that when I first joined the Connecticut Bronies, I used carpools quite a bit because I was what was I, 16, I think. I didn't have a car, so I had some of my friends in the group, like Zach here, would come up and get me once in a while when my mother couldn't. Now, the big thing about carpools is that it's, as much as it's important for the person who needs a carpool to ask for it, it's also equally important that somebody who is willing to give a carpool offer it, put it up on your site, and let it be known that if you're in this area, I will drive you to a meetup every once in a while, or every time, or whenever I'm available. And in turn, common courtesy, if you're going to take carpools, you should probably help out, give the guy money for gas or something,
It means a lot.
It does.
At least offering it. We've had guys who are like, they don't care, but just offering it means a lot. And if you don't after a while, they might get kind of salty.
So Connecticut is an interesting state. Oh, not interesting, but it's a perfect size state. What? Oh, yeah, it's very interesting. Yeah, Connecticut, yes, is interesting, but it's a perfect size for one meetup group. One meetup group can easily serve the entire state because everybody's within about an hour and a half from everywhere. So it's relatively easy to get to meetups. Larger states, however, usually need more than one meetup group. Like states like Pennsylvania and New York sometimes have several, like up to 5 or 6 meetup groups. So branch out, different meetups for different areas. There are a difference between state meetups and city meetups. The Connecticut Bronies are a state meetup. We can serve their entire state. The New York City Bronies are a city group. They serve mostly the city and maybe a few towns out, usually. SoCal's another good example. They have one meetup group, but they have different branches of it, like San Diego and Los Angeles. So it's,
Well, yeah, when we looked at the California region, especially if you zoom in on the Equestria Daily map, if you really zoom in on it, you'll have meetups that are only a few miles from each other, and each one specifically will probably have more than 200, 300, 400 people in it. There's probably actually a lot of people who just interconnect through them. I don't see why you wouldn't, but it's because there's such a high population density in those areas that it just makes sense to just keep things localized. So people just probably walk to a meetup if there's an event, or go to the movies, or wherever the event might be. So stuff like that happens. So that's why city meetups and state meetups are very different. And sometimes you have to watch out for Minnesota.
Yeah, I have experience with Minnesota in particular. They're called the Minnesota Bronies. I don't know if anybody's here from Minnesota. I don't think so. But they're called the Minnesota Bronies, but they actually really only serve Minneapolis and a good chunk of area around Minneapolis, but it's not really the entirety of Minnesota. It'd be very difficult to have something like that, just as it would be difficult to have a region like New England Bronies, say. But even though we're a small state, meetups, we have a broad range of things that we can do.
So, as the title says, there's no single Brony meetup experience, and that leads us to what I like to call the meat market. So, I took one marketing class in college, so I think I know all this stuff about marketing, so I was like, I gotta throw this out there. So, when I first joined this group years ago, there was a lot of younger people in the group. I was talking to one of the former admins, throwing out meetup ideas. At the time, I was about 24 or so, and I was like, hey, what if we, went bar hopping or something like that? And he's like, oh yeah, that sounds cool, but I'm 19, and a lot of the guys in the group are under 21, so that wouldn't work out. So I was like, oh, okay. So we went back and forth, coming up with all ages kind of events. And then as things went on, I met a few other members who were over 21. I was like, hey guys, you want to get together and just, have a house party or something, just have some drinks and hang around. And they were like, okay. So we made a meetup. We called it the first Drink Up. It's just a simple house party out in Colchester. And we found there were some other members who were part of the group who were over 21, but they never came out until they saw, there's something for the older crowd. And at that point, I noticed before there were a lot of younger guys in the group. Then later on, I found, there's also a group of older guys. And I noticed there's almost like there's two demographics in the group. And so from there, you have different groups of members who might do different things. And so that led me to thinking, it's almost like marketing. You have demographics, you have your market, your target market for different types of meetups. So that's how we got with the meat market there. So some of the different types of events that you come up with based on your market.
I skip it.
Thank you. I guess you'd say there's like the tone of the meetup. You could have meetups that are more casual, more or intimate. Like a party at someone's house, or where you have more one-on-one interactions with people, or you could have something like a field kind of meetup out in a public place, like you hang out at a mall or go to a movie where there's other people around and there's more mingling with other people. And so with whether it's a more intimate kind of meetup or something out in public, then you could have different themed meetups. Since you're a Brony meetup group, you could have a pony-focused meetup where, you maybe do some of the parties in the show, like Nightmare Night. We had a Nightmare Night party for Halloween, get together at someone's house, get our Halloween costumes on, just hang around. Hearthwarming, that's another fun one we do around Christmas time. We do secret snowflake gift exchange, and again, it's kind of like a little party. Winter wrap-up. During the fall, we go out and do seasonal things, apple picking, hikes. In the springtime, go for hikes. Whatever grows in the spring, we pick those. And summer sun celebration, just have a summer barbecue. And so you can have pony-themed events, and then you can also have more specialized non-pony-themed events.
This is an interesting component that will come up later when we talk about luck. The Connecticut Meetup group, it was around, I think, when I actually just got into the group. A lot of the meetups after the drinking meetup were still episode themed and pony themed. But then we started just branching out, and we did a lot of stuff that just weren't pony related, because we found out that a lot of guys and girls in the group had similar interests through those pony events that we all talked to each other through. And we found there's 3 big things we like to do, or maybe 4 if you want to count D&D. That's one of our things we like to do is D&D. But then there was a light. Yeah, it's broken. So one of the things was the gun range. We're very much into just going to the gun range and shooting up some targets every now and then. We know a few people in the group who are darker. Yeah. It's the sensors apparently. That's what that person was walking through in the last panel. Wonderful. Anyways, so yeah, so a few guys in the group own some weapons, and we go to the range, and we just, we let them borrow us. They let us borrow them. Wow. And yeah, exactly. Another thing we're big on, and it was kind of funny, it kind of makes sense that everyone's OC in our group is a Pegasus, is that we're really big into aviation. We found this out when we had very big success with going to the Air Museum, and then we went to the air show. The air show was actually in Rhode Island, but everyone from Connecticut went to it. And that's actually us at the Woonsocket Air Show, and they had the, what is it? Quonset, right, sorry. And that's actually, we saw the Blue Angels, which was super awesome. It's like, oh look, the real life Thunderbolts. And those are themes that continue. We actually going to the Intrepid sometime in September, which is again in New York. It's out of state, but all the Connecticut people are going. We also have a picture from like the aquarium we have in Mystic, and these are very popular events, even though they're not explicitly pony themed, because we kind of have known each other and we've learned through like the intermingling from pony themed events of what we also like. So this is a very powerful event, usually for our regular meetups, for our regular members. And that's something you have to keep in mind though, and I think we're starting to learn this a little bit recently, is that we have a lot of these meetups that are kind of garnered towards our regulars, and we forget about the new members that people who want to join for the first time. And so that's a new thing that Sam found out about. It's very useful.
Yeah, when I was interviewing some of the admins of the Southern California Bronies, I found out that they do new member potlucks, which is a very interesting thing, where they will go to a park or something, they'll have a potluck there, everybody brings their own dish, and it's aimed towards new members. So it gives new members, some people who want to go to a meetup group, but are kind of nervous about not immediately fitting in, they'll see that, oh, I can go to this and people are actually going to talk to me. And it's a good icebreaker when you have people bringing in treats that they made, like chilies, and somebody being a regular member going, oh, hey, what'd you bring? And they say, oh, I brought a chili. And they say, oh, this is really good, This is really nice. I thought that was very interesting, and we haven't done anything like that yet because I only just found out about it.
Yeah.
We have potlucks, yes, but it's good to advertise them as new member meetups.
Yeah, advertising them as new members meetups is important. Like you want to make sure everything's accessible, because that's like the most important thing. We noticed with the New York City Bronies, they have like what I guess we kind of call mini-cons. No, it's not Transformers talk. Mini-cons. And they're literally mini conventions. They have about like 120 people show up like every other Saturday for an episode viewing when the season's not broken in half. And they have the episode viewing on a huge screen. They bring in like, right. Those have regular episode viewings then.
Because we'll just head to the range.
Yeah. It's New York though.
Oh.
They'll have like
Connecticut.
Yeah, I know. I'm talking about how they do it. So, and they have like 2 to 3 vendors. They have people who bring like pony themed food, and then they have like a little live streaming drawing. They have a little video game section. It's literally a mini convention. These are very useful, and as we found out, as you can kind of tell from we're all here at a huge convention, we all have this common interest in pony, so we're all here. But then there's so many things you can do at the convention to sector off into your specific independent interests. And so that's where you find similar interests, but also very specific ones at the same time. And that's how friendships are formed.
Yeah, so these new member meetups, if you're going to have them, of course have to be worthwhile to everyone. They're going to keep the regulars entertained, which, isn't that hard to do. And like I said, inviting atmosphere, make sure all your members are going to talk to the new people, because that's why you're here. You're here to say, hello, what's your name? And not just be like, oh yeah, okay, good to meet you, and then walk off. So, yeah, and it's important, if you're a regular member of a meetup group, remember your first experience. Do you want somebody to experience that, whether it was good or bad? What do you think you could improve? So that brings us to...
Oh yeah, so So we now move on to, after going through all that on transportation and moving on through the types of events you have, we really are going to focus on the next elements of activity and participation. And they kind of go hand in hand, which makes sense. You have to have events to go to, like your meetup group, let's do things. It really depends on like who's suggesting things, and a big thing you want to watch out for, which is hilarious to actually look at sometimes. Like if you actually ever go on meetup.com, look around the other meetup groups that are on meetup.com that may or may not be about nerd culture or pop culture, and find the ones that are really weird. You'll see like 1,200 people in a meetup group, and they'll have the same event every Saturday with 4 people. And you're wondering, no, we're talking, there's a really fun one that is out, I think it's on the border of like New York. They call themselves like New England Actives. They're like 3,000 people, and all they ever do is they just go to the same like Jewish community center and play tennis. And it's like, well, if you're an active group, why do you only play tennis? Just call yourself a tennis group at least. I don't know. It's weird. So you really want to watch out for these event stagnations so that you don't do that. And we've seen them in and out, like I said, in and outside the Brony meetup groups. You want variety. That's what keeps people. That's why we found ourselves to turn into like this little family, because we started out with the Brony stuff and then we started having variety. We'll talk about, I think, go-karting eventually later, and the gun range, obviously. And you have to just explore these things to eventually find what everyone likes, and then you use those meetups again every now and then people start to stick with it, and then that's how, again, you further the bonds of friendship. But again, in order to know these things about your members, you have to know your user demographic, or the meat market, and in order to do that, you have to communicate with them. You're up, Money.
So communication is really important in a meetup group. Because you want, and this is a inter-meetup communication between meetups. For one, I mean, if you want to keep your members interested, you're going to want to do stuff that they're interested in. And the only way to figure that out is to talk to them. Now, if you find a thing that is local and you say, oh, this seems like an interesting thing, I wonder if my group would want to do this. You go onto your forums on your website, meetup.com or Facebook, wherever you are, and you put it out there and you say, hey, you guys interested in doing this thing? And they'll be like, yes, I am interested in doing this thing. When and where? And you'll tell them that, and they will go, hopefully. But aside from forum communication, the Connecticut Bronies, we have a Skype group, several Skype groups actually, but it helps keep us, informed on everybody's lives. We all go on there and we talk about our day-to-day stuff. It bolsters friendships, and it also gives regular members, not admins, and we'll talk about this later, a place to suggest, hey, how would you guys like to do this? And it's like an immediate answer thing rather than putting it on Facebook and like waiting a few hours for everybody to put their consensus in. So it's a good way to get attention, get more attendance at your meetups, get more interest, find out what everybody likes, so that if you're an admin, you can find out, okay, these people, everybody's interested in doing this thing. Let's do this a little bit more often. Now, texting between members, it's fine. It's no big deal. You can text people, you can have each other's phone numbers, it's okay. But watch out for it becoming a thing where instead of going to meetups, you're just keeping a little clique of people who only go to things together, which isn't bad all the time, but sometimes if it becomes like a habit, and we'll talk about cliques a little bit later, it might be a bit of a negative. So Facebook groups, dedicated forums.
Yeah, dedicated forums are actually interesting. When we were looking around, we were talking about Colorado, because we actually just visited, 2 of us did, me and Jordan did, for about 2 weeks. But we were looking like, I wonder how many bronies are actually in Colorado. And so we looked up their meetup group. They don't have one, at least not. It wasn't easy to find. You type in Google for Colorado Bronies, you find their forum website, and it's completely independently run. They like run it and everything, and it looks dead. But if you actually go through the threads, you'll actually find they're actually fairly active. In fact, when we looked at it at that time, they got like 15 people to help a guy move, and then they're like, "Oh, let's get pizza and watch a movie afterwards. Thanks for helping me move." So it worked out for them, and they do other things obviously, but it was just interesting because it just looked dead. You just have to look for these things, and that might be part of it. Like, I was surprised that they have their own meetup site throughout their own website, because I just like you have to know a guy who knows web design. We actually know several, but that's just they don't actually work for our website, which we don't have. But it's something you have to look at and just really pay attention for. But you saying something?
Oh, I was gonna say, I mean, we didn't say this earlier, but there is a difference between Facebook and Meetup, several differences. Number one difference that keeps people away from Meetup is that it costs money every year.
That's right.
But you get a dedicated website that is dedicated to meeting up. Facebook is a little bit more, you have everything there, and it's like,
Level of commitment.
yeah, it's commitment.
Because
But the thing about the payments is that if you have a successful meetup group, time comes around to pay your yearly dues, and you just go on your Skype group and say, "Hey, you guys, dues are up. Does anybody want to donate some money?" And then boom, in like 5 seconds, it's paid because everybody's like, "Oh, this is a fun meetup group. I love it, and I want to contribute."
Yeah.
That's what happened to us last time.
But I think you remember saying you were looking at the Facebook groups, and they actually aren't always interested in actually meeting up.
Yeah. So the meetup map is deceptive, very deceptive. EQD, thank you very much. Facebook groups, a lot of the times they'll have, they'll call themselves a meetup group and they'll put themselves on that map, but they won't really meet up that often, or if at all.
Yeah.
They'll be like, okay, we all live in this area, and that's cool. And that's it.
That's actually about it. It's
And that's
kinda
about
weird.
it, because like we have a Connecticut Facebook group.
There's actually two
There's
Connecticut
two of
Facebook
them.
groups.
And they just don't communicate with
I
us.
mean, and that's their thing.
Yeah.
They just want to, share pony news and post funny pony pics and memes and whatnot. On one of them, actually on both of them, we occasionally post meetups. We're like, hey guys, if anyone's interested in meeting up, check us out. Here's a meetup page, and I'll post on there. But I remember one of them was like, oh yeah, that's cool and all, but I'm not really interested in meeting up with other bronies. I'm like, but you're called Connecticut Bronies on Facebook. So, just a
Maybe
thought.
it's like a little subjectiveness. I don't know. Like we know a few people, and it's like one guy on EQD who always keeps posting. I'm not gonna say his name, obviously. He always posts on there, and we found out he was from a Connecticut guy, and he was actually like saying, "Oh, like there's no meetup groups in Connecticut," and then one of our members reached out to me. He's like, "I'm not actually interested." I'm like, "What? Interesting." And then I found a few guys on DA who are the same way, and it's just like, okay. So I guess it's like a weird level of people just, they just want to reach out and know that people are close by, which I guess is a thing. I mean, I guess we can't relate to it because to us, I guess the takeaway is that meetup.com, if you use it, because I guess a part of it's paid, is that you have the intention of actually physically meeting each other. Facebook is just like there's not really this commitment to it. Yeah. So.
Just a
Who
quick
knows?
clarification. It just costs money to keep a meetup site, not to actually make an account and join
Yeah.
meetups.
Right.
In case
And then everyone can add to it. Oh, admins. That's you.
So we're talking about meetup pages and whatnot and adminning. What do admins do? Why do admins exist in the group? Well, if you're a smaller group and maybe there's I'd say even if there's maybe 20 of you who get together and whatever, and you're kind of a fledgling meetup, maybe you don't necessarily need a formal, official admin of some sort, and maybe you guys sort things out amongst yourself, organize meetups and whatnot. But as you grow as a group and you get more members, having a dedicated admin certainly helps out just with running operations in the group, with organizing meetups, scheduling meetups, just all the logistics of running meetup events. I like I mentioned earlier, when I first joined the group, I talked to the one of the former admins and thrown around meetup ideas, and basically that's kind of how I moved up and became an admin. I just sort of stepped in there, and no one opposed me, so I figured I'd see how far I could run with this, and now I'm here. Yeah. Exactly. I'm now
Organized by a subordinate.
Exactly. So, admins, they run, they help run things, keep things running smoothly and whatnot. And some of the other things that they also come in handy for is drama. As you can see, sometimes, well, almost always, at some point, you're going to run into drama. Even if you're a small group, maybe you haven't hit drama yet. Even if you're growing, even if you got 100 members, things may be all fine and dandy. We were doing pretty good in terms of drama for a while.
Yeah.
And then eventually, just as more people come in, you get different personalities, and
Yeah, we're
some
human.
people just bring drama. Some people cause friction with other members and whatnot. And it can cause issues with the groups. That'll cause people to not want to come to meetups because, they don't like so-and-so, and there's friction, and they just want to avoid it, whatever. Or maybe people, I don't think we had anyone start fights, but things have
Like
gotten...
physically? No.
Well, there's been like arguing in the Skype chat and stuff.
There have
Yes,
been
very
arguments.
fierce arguments, and not over best pony, over drama things.
But they've been between themselves, so that's an important part, though.
Yeah, and that's what we've noticed. So as an admin, what would you, how do you handle drama in your group? Because you don't want drama to spread to the rest of the group, because then your group's gonna implode on itself, or explode. They're both pretty bad. So what we found really that works the best is, generally speaking, just stay out of it. Let them sort it out themselves, but maybe be aware of, just keep one eye on it. Because me personally, I'm not really a professional psychologist or even an amateur one, so I'm not going to try and sort out people's problems and why they have an issue with so-and-so and whatnot. So usually it does actually work itself out. You just kind of let them be and hope it doesn't spread. But when you might want to step in is if it's starting to spread, if other people are starting to get in on it, you might want to talk to them and say, hey, I know you got a problem with this or that. You really got to work this out with whoever or whatever it is, and we can't have it.
Especially if it's
spreading around.
public,
And especially if it's public. We've had people who started some drama, and then they started posting stuff like comments in our meetups and just in our forums and whatnot. And when it becomes public, that's when it's really going to hurt you, because new prospective members, they come in, they see your group, and they see all this drama. They're going to be turned off by that. So at that point, it can be damaging to your group. So that's when you got to step in and tell them this is not acceptable. You can't be doing this. And if you can't stop them, then you got to swing the ban hammer and just get rid of them. Send them a little email, a nice email, telling them why you've been banned, and maybe tell them, oh, you can reapply in 6 months or a year or something. We'll see how it goes.
Sometimes you want to maybe give them a warning.
Well, yeah, no, that's what I said.
Depends
you
on what it
to 'em
is.
First. Yeah, you talk to them first. Let them know that you can't be doing this and you got to work this out.
Yeah.
And if they're still causing drama and they're still causing damage, then you got to take action and stop it from spreading.
Yeah, it's in the last resort in a way when people just aren't willing to really.
Right. Yeah. As much fun as it is to ban them, you want to be fair a little bit and give them a warning. You can't just be like, oh, this guy's got a gluten problem. He's gone. I tried to ban him a few times. Sometimes I'll go through the list. We've had a few bots come into our meetup page, like fake accounts that are just robots that for whatever reason they throw them in there. So I'll go through the spreadsheet of members and okay, yeah, these aren't real accounts, and then I'll try and slide Adam in there and be like, Adam, why shouldn't I ban you this month? I don't know. So he's been doing good. He's still on probation.
I'm perpetually on probation. But I guess one last thing that I really want to touch on, and this is a huge other can of worms, but I feel like it's important with this fandom to just mention it at least, because I've been in this fandom for 5-ish years, and I've been in a few communities, both online and off. Don't let love and tolerance be a guilt trip card. And I'm just saying that from, I guess, an side of opinion, but there's a difference between people tolerating someone for something they can't change, being, just a nice person, and then tolerating just behavior that really shouldn't be tolerable. This is something I've seen in this family. It's actually destroyed one of the communities I was in because they were blatantly breaking one of the rules of the website we were renting, and we tolerated them, and then we lost the website, and then everything was dead. And we knew that was going to happen. We told them to stop. They're like, you have to love and tolerate us. I'm like, and so our admin was guilt tripped into just letting it slide, even though it was in direct violation of the website. And it's something that, again, it's just an unpopular opinion, but there are some behaviors you just can't tolerate. We had one member who was legitimately being stalked, and we had to cut someone out. We had to ban them because this person was being stalked to the point where they wanted to keep having meetups, but they put a fake address on the meetup page because they didn't feel safe. They're like, text me, and I'll give you the address. So I don't want this person following me. So that's when we had to ban that person. So there's a point where you do have to draw the line, most definitely. But continuing with troubleshooting problems, moving on from that. Another thing we've seen are very member-heavy groups that are just dead. Nothing happens. And so this is what I talked about earlier. You want to kind of troubleshoot the issue. Is someone posting the same meetup every Saturday with no interest? Maybe that's when you try to move on to the communication and reach out, see what people want. Post something different, instead of doing maybe a movie night, maybe do something like, go-karting or bowling. Those are very popular with our group. Or going to the gun range, if your state allows it. Or look, here's another interesting thing, especially on meetup.com, this is really cool. You can just go through their history and see maybe when the group was more active, see what meetups were getting attention, and did they like these, are these events offered anymore? Or something, maybe they're offered too much, anything else that goes on with it. Another thing you have to look out for is, are people just getting busy? That's happening in our group right now, is we're still very active, but a lot of our people are going to school, going to college, their work schedules are changing, and it happens. So you have to maybe reach around, wait, what? No, sorry. you have to reach out.
Family-friendly con.
You have to reach out and we have people who work on weekends, so we're maybe do a Friday night meetup or a Sunday meetup. And those are sometimes unpopular because Sundays are school nights, work nights, whichever. But I think we had one meetup where I was working every weekend, and one of my friends was like, hey, you want to go do something on a Thursday? I'm like, yeah, please, that'd be great. I haven't seen you guys in literally 2 months. And that's what we did. We went to, I think it was a casino we went to. And it was super fun, and a big break from me working every weekend. So stuff like that helps. And you want to just empower people. Don't let the admins always make the meetups, right?
Yeah, I mean, as an admin, it's good to take the reins and guide the group and make meetups, keep things running. But you also want to involve your members because there's certain things I like to do. I like to go shooting in go-karts and watching ponies. But some people might be into golf, and maybe if someone's into golf, they know what's involved, what you need to go golfing and all the logistics behind that. So I try to, let people know that, hey, feel free to suggest a meetup. There's a suggestion tab where anyone can go onto the site, suggest a meetup, say hey, let's meet up and go golfing, and then they can fill out the details, pretty much just like an admin would, and then suggest that meetup. And usually, the way it works on meetup.com is, if someone suggests a meetup with all the details and whatnot, it'll be in the suggested pile and not on the front page. And if other members see it, if 2 or more members RSVP, then it'll get announced, show up on the front page. What I do to try and encourage people to do meetups is, I'll say, hey, if you put a definite time and place, it doesn't have to be definite, people work out a different time, that's fine, whatever. But if you just list a time, list a place and an address and what you're gonna do, then I'll just announce it, throw it on the front page so it'll get faster traction, people see it faster. And something will come from that. So that kind of helps with the variety because I'm into whatever, and then someone else who might not be into that, they're into something else. Maybe there's other members who are into that too, and they'll go golfing or whatever. Actually, I think we did have a meetup the other day where some of our newer members in the lower area of the state that none of the regulars went to.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
kinda neat. They had like a LAN party or a gaming meetup at their place down in Fairfield. A lot of us are more towards the middle of the state. They're in the southern area. And so they just started up a meetup down in their area, and they got it running, and a whole bunch of people came, and it looked like it went pretty well.
Yeah, it was,
Chris
yeah.
went to that.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
fantastic. Because it's like, that came in with the issue of transportation. So I know a lot of the guys at your meetup were from the coastline. And, you know, they're like, oh, I'm down Bridgeport, I'm down New Haven. And for them, that's kind of a hefty trip to go up even to Hartford sometimes. Just, you know, they're like, yeah. 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 So, but you have like your own set of regulars. You have your coastline regulars, and that's kind of when you get into what Sam was talking about, what he learned from the other meetup, like state groups, that you'll start like having these little things, like the cliques. And those kind of happen, which again aren't bad, because it keeps everyone still doing things and keeps the meetup group alive. I don't know if you had anything more on that, did you? Cliques?
I mean, that's an example of a good clique, yeah. I mean,
The key is as long as you're not, actively excluding,
yeah.
other parts of the group.
Or accidentally excluding.
Or accidentally.
Yeah.
Because that happens too. Because you don't want to form tunnel vision. That's one thing I've noticed is you might start creating meetup groups with the only intent of inviting your best friends or the ones you happen to be bonding with, and you start to forget that those aren't really accessible. Sometimes a meetup it's designed around that. Like D&D, you don't want more than 6 people. Apparently even that's too many people. So you have to limit those. But that's just one thing. But you make a certain kind of meetup that caters to only you and your specific friends. Maybe just keep that as like maybe, I don't know, like getting lunch or something. Like, oh, because you live literally 20 minutes from me, let's go get lunch. You don't really have to make a meetup for that. Yeah. So that kind of just brings us all together towards the end.
So in the end we get back to our elements, which are transportation, activity, participation, communication, organization, and we'll talk about now is luck. Luck is an interesting thing. It cannot be explained, but sometimes you just need some luck to have a successful meetup group. By all means, you shouldn't say, oh yeah, I guess this didn't happen, it was just bad luck. I mean, you have to put in the hard work and effort to run a good meetup group. But sometimes, bad area, not an area with so many bronies, middle of the Mojave.
Or just a lot of people who aren't interested in meeting up.
Yeah.
'Cause there's a lot of groups and that I've seen on the meetup map that serve a good area that could be great for meetups, but they just don't want to get together, and that's their thing. But it's worth trying in those areas. If you want to meet up with people, you gotta put in the work and effort.
And that's kind of like where we think, at least of us specifically, we think we lucked out. Specifically because we're a small state, and we thought that there wouldn't be a lot of people.
I know I've heard that from a few of our members. They really lucked out when they
Yeah, I think we did. I mean, like it's just really weird. We have so many people who are in the motorsport and aviation, and it's like, wow. Like I think only like one person in the group is actually flying, and everyone's like, we still love planes. Let's go fly and go to museums and stuff. And so we do that, and at least you guys, we have a few motorsport guys. They actually know how to drive. You do go-karting and also driving. You had that new video that you had up.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. So, and yeah,
Oh, of course, yeah.
Stig's
We
a
got the Stig
Connecticut
in our
guy,
group.
by the way.
He was going to be the next cousin, but you know how that turned out.
So, and then, it's that kind of thing of luck, because, I don't know about Minnesota, but I've heard from like New York guys and SoCal guys, there's just so many people that it's a little easier for them. So I guess the luck really comes into the fact of when you have a smaller area, you want to operate a smaller regional area, and not like an entire Eastern Seaboard time zone.
Oh yeah, that's happened before.
It actually has.
I'd say ultimately that's like our best feature, that while we're a meetup group, I think, I've always seen us as we're just a group of friends who get together and
I
do
would go as
stuff.
far as saying we're a family kind of.
Yeah,
We become a family. We're getting really close to each other.
Ponies brought us together, but it's not necessarily what keeps us together.
Yeah. And now I would like to take a little bit of time
We got 15 minutes.
Yeah, we got 15 minutes. Well, I could say about my experience. This has been a great group. The Connecticut Bronies are awesome, and I was welcoming. It was welcoming from the very beginning when I went to my first meetup, which was bowling, and my good friend Spence here was the guy who introduced me, who I first met. If anybody has any questions, we'll take questions now. Questions, comments,
It's a small group, so it should be-
experiences. Share your experiences. It'll help everybody out.
we got like 3, 4.
Okay. Yes, you first, because you raised your hand first.
I think it's especially difficult for me as a girl. Like I'm scared to go to meetups because of the stranger danger, you know, like whenever a girl goes out and like even meets one guy, she has to worry about being raped. And so like going out and meeting like 6 other guys, and especially since bronies are mainly male, it's very scary with that stranger danger thing. And I wanted to know like if you had any suggestions for me or even for meetups in general.
That's an interesting point. We didn't actually think of that.
Yeah,
Well, it
it's
is
something
valid,
that
'cause
we've
I've-
kind of, I guess you say we kind of kept it.
I have a suggestion.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah,
Go
sure.
for it.
Go for it, Zach.
When you want to go to your first meetup, make sure it's in a public
I
place.
knew you were gonna
Oh,
say
yeah.
that. That's what I was gonna
Yeah.
think.
It's a very public place, lots of other people around, a mall, bowling alley, like during the summer on a Saturday where there's a lot of people. Try to not get a ride from one of them. Drive yourself or have a family member to bring you.
Bring a guest.
Bring
That's a huge
another
thing.
friend,
Backup.
even if they're not a brony. Bring them if they just enjoy bowling, they just want to hang out with you or whatever.
Yeah, whatever makes you comfortable, because the last thing you want to do is go to a meetup expecting to feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, and we've had that happen, but it's like, it's weird, you know, when the conventions first started, I was just walking around, I hear so many parents who bring their kids and everything in the actual target demographic of the show, and they're just like, wow, bronies are so nice, they're none of the things people say they are on the internet. So, you can just kind of like, I guess, a little bit of insurance there, but with your smaller groups, I can see your concern, 'cause you're like, well, that's because it's a big convention, they're super public, and that's the thing you have to remember, as Zach said, is the publicity of it. And there's gonna be a lot of people, broad daylight, that's probably your best bet.
We do have several girls in our group. For instance,
Hi,
Amanda here.
I joined the group. I was the only female for quite some time. And when I started, I knew that they had a Skype group, and so I was like, let me join it and see if these people are total weirdos and see if I can like actually get along with them. It helped that I kind of live on the internet, so I was able to kind of get a gauge of like, are these people gonna be like totally like terrible or anything? But I basically spent a couple weeks in their Skype group, and I went down. My first meetup was we actually took the ferry across Long Island Sound. We went to Port Jefferson in Long Island, and it was a big meetup because it was like, you know, out with these folks, but I, you know, took that time to get to know them through the Skype chat, and I got, you know, fairly comfortable. And I actually, I think before we went, didn't we
Yeah,
go
we went
lunch
to
first?
lunch,
Yeah,
yeah.
I found out that he worked near me, so we went to lunch.
Oh
one
yeah,
day.
Zach was there too.
Oh yeah, you were there too. That's right. Yeah. So, you know, taking the time to kind of, you know, seek out those people either online or like try to organize a little something, you know, locally with fewer people, that helps too. And that way when you go to a big meetup, you don't feel like you're alone and, you know, trying to break the ice with these people too.
Because it is true. I mean, all Brony meetup groups have a high concentration of males, and we have gotten quite a few, you know, girls in our group over time. Yeah. Well, no. Yeah, we're nowhere close to. I mean, it's
Statistically, the ratio is starting to even out,
not- yeah, a little bit.
at least officially online.
Yeah.
I don't
Okay.
know.
Yellow shirt.
Yellow shirt.
I don't think I need my phone.
Okay.
Do you have a younger, you know, youngest group age group that's allowed?
Oh, that is
Well,
important to.
Meetup requires, I think, a certain age to use it.
So 18 is what
Yeah.
Meetup.com requires. However, that doesn't stop. Actually, the group was actually founded by. Yeah. I think it was founded by a 14-year-old and two
It was
16-year-olds.
co-founded
originally.
by
Yeah.
someone who was 14.
Now, the important thing is that you have to set rules for that. I mean, 16 or 17-year-olds, it's okay. It is a bit of a gray area to have a 16 or 17-year-old there, but you have to make sure that's okay with their parents. You know, make sure that everybody in the group knows that this minor is their responsibility. Under 16, I would say definitely, if it was my decision, I would say must be accompanied by a parent.
Yeah.
We actually, for one of our meetups where we went hiking, someone who was 13 had joined the group, and fortunately he said, my mom's bringing me and she's going to come with us, and we're like, yeah, that's good, definitely bring your mom.
Yeah.
And so, he came with his mom, and we were hanging out, so it was a little odd, a bunch of 20-year-olds and the 13-year-old came, but...
His mom was really cool.
Yeah. I think we talked to his mom more than
Him? That was before
she was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, we got along great, so you meet the parents and you just kind of let them know that,
Because honestly,
if what's going on.
If a parent is going to let their 12-year-old go to a meetup alone, they're not really a good parent to begin with.
I think we. I don't know. I see he's there. I don't know if Deborah is. I know she's here though. Yeah.
All right. So more questions. We got a little bit more time left.
Hinky.
So my name is Rob Castiello, also known as Snuggle Trumpet.
I've heard of you.
Yes, you probably have.
Oh, Snuggle Trumpet. I've seen you on the side a bunch of times.
Yeah, I'm here and there. I'm right now one of the co-organizers for the Boston Bronies.
Yes.
Long story short, I got thrown in because I don't know if you know Kate, she founded it, and moved who knows where, and there was no one doing any of the meetup groups. We only had like one meetup every other month, and I'm like, I can organize stuff. Let's try this. So I've gone in, and now I got the organization. We obviously have transportation because we're quite centralized in Boston. We do things like that, and I try to arrange things from like free events to some small pocket change events, so that way no one's afraid of going in. My biggest thing is I'm getting a lot of problems where I get someone saying, "Hey, what's this group?" And we're like, "It's the Boston Bronies." It's like I've never heard of these before. I didn't know this was available. So I guess one of my biggest things is I can't put out there that this group is available for people. How do you deal with that? Like just being found by
people.
More interested.
EQD has actually a segment where they'll post up, or meetup groups will send them pictures and stuff from their meetups, and they'll post it up in their
nightly roundups like that?
Yeah, nightly roundup. That's a good way to get noticed. Go to the Facebook groups that might be there, advertise it. Really, that all goes into luck too, because there's no real way to project unless you're going to pay for ads on Derpy Boo or something.
You've done the business cards.
Yeah, I did. I got business
We've run
cards.
into Bronies.
Yeah.
Conventions,
on meetups.
yes. Conventions
did not
are
know
good.
about us.
Yeah, conventions are a good place to advertise. If you ask around, you say, "Hey, where are you from?" You're talking to somebody, and they'll say, "Oh, hey, I'm from Connecticut. I've seen those people." Yeah, I'm from Connecticut. I'm like, why aren't you coming to meetups? And they're like, "Oh, because I have never heard of your group." And I'm like, here's my business card.
So I think it always ties back a little bit to the meat market. Think about, where a lot of bronies, where might they be? A lot of them are into, nerdy things and, that sort of thing. So go to conventions, just like Comic-Cons, or, Connecticut has Connecticut, which is a multi-genre nerd convention. So, we run into bronies there and we're like, "Oh, hey, how's it going?" And they're like, "Oh, what's up, this and that." And then we mention the group. They're like, "Oh, I didn't know there's a Connecticut meetup group." So there's one way. Yeah, and just
I think something I've noticed recently that could be real quick, a real great way to try and find a lightning way of reaching out is during the big fandom events. I know when episode 100 was being teased, everyone's like, you don't want to miss this and you want to see this with people, other fans. So it's you're like, oh, just spam it. EQD will probably advertise that. I know when the EQG movies come out, that's usually because that also helps because it's always in theaters. People are like, I don't want to go this alone. I'll just go with other people. So there's these little ways, when the fandom has, or the show itself has these big public things that's a great time to make a debut or a re-grand opening or something like that. I think those would be helpful. That's at least what I've noticed with the movies. I think when the actual movie, the 2017 movie comes out, there's your flagship calling card.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
We have 5 minutes.
Or you can send a message through the meetup site.
Is there any more questions? Because we have one final thing.
Yeah. So our last thing, all of our members have their own stories of how they've come to be in this meetup and how it's changed their lives. Because like I said, we're a big family. We've got a lot of stories to share, and I'd like to call up one of someone who I'd like to say is my best friend to tell about his experiences in our meetup group and how it has changed his life to this day. Spencer Ascio.
You want a microphone? Yeah,
Siblings, all right. Hey guys, how you doing tonight? Let's give it up for these guys for giving us some really helpful information.
Thank you.
Now, Sam mentioned before that I was the first person he interacted with when he first came to his very first meetup. And to be honest, I was just doing what I felt like I should have done, because when I first joined this group, I was in the absolute least social point in my life, where I was just in this little bubble, just completely cramped up from a very unsatisfactory college experience where I just couldn't really make any friends. And my very first meetup was at a mall to go watch a movie and hang out and stuff. And I just felt immediately comfortable. And that was the very threshold that basically saved my life, to be honest. Because if it wasn't for these guys, these really awesome friends, these really awesome people that I met and all the experiences I had, I wouldn't be anywhere near as happy as I am today. Especially in terms of the person that I met at a holiday party last year, or a couple years ago rather. Yeah, Joy, you wanna come up here a second? You know, her first meetup was in fact that same party, wasn't it? Yeah. And the important thing that everyone should always take from, or what everyone should definitely take from this, is that you should not feel nervous about going to your first meetup, because believe it or not, almost everyone that's in our group is an extreme introvert. I'm the most introverted person on the face of the planet. I will challenge you. But still, once you're able to conquer that fear, it'll be the most rewarding experience you'll ever have. Because you should not be afraid to try new things in your life. I mean, you're here. You're at this convention with 10,000 other people. That says a lot. And if you think you can't handle a meetup, then you should realize that you're at the biggest meetup in this entire region. And hanging out with a bunch of people at a mall for a few hours will be nothing for you. So take that home with you. Take that courage with you. Because when you conquer your fears, I'm sorry, I dry out a while. Because when you conquer your fears, you know, hey, come back here.
I wanted to help her because she actually helped me come to my first meetup.
Okay. Because when you conquer your fears, you're not afraid to take any extra steps in your life. No, you need to be over here for this. No, this is important. Please. Please. Please.
Julie, move.
Please. Please.
Do it!
Do it! Do it! Do it! Do it!
I think we all got goosebumps.
Don't say it, didn't like.
Can I take that as a yes?
Yeah.
Woo! Shia LaBeouf told me to do it.
Thank you,
That
everybody.
will conclude our panel. I need to go get some tissues. Thank you for coming. We'll be outside if you have any questions. I can only stay for a little bit because I have a date. No, I'm not next.
All right. Enjoy the convention, everyone, and thank you.
Come to me if you need Jolly Ranchers. I have 3 pounds of them.